Messing with Real Visuals. I'm back at it with another one. I just wanted to say I appreciate the support. I just see I got 35 views on my last video just now, yesterday. I just want to say I do appreciate the support. It's actually a surprise because now it's starting to show that I am, gaining some form of traction. Because like before, like I said, it just wasn't, to see 35 within a day. Before it would take, a few months, a few weeks to a month, something crazy like that. So, but it really shows the there is a little bit of there's an audience out there. I am, saying something, and I am seeing, listeners, and it's starting to show that I'm seeing some traction out there. So I just want to say I do appreciate the support, and I'll continue to make videos, and I'll continue to put my insight and input out there. So just like I said, just keep the likes up, and just keep up the support. And I just want to let you know, guys, I do appreciate it, and thank you. So this video here is a bit of a follow-up. I'm still watching the same video on Superfly 75. He's talking about Angry Man, and he was on the show with Tommy Sotomayor and some other guys, arguing back and forth. And also just want to get back to that with him and O'Shea. He's really talking about the whole Pan-African thing and pro-black, movement, the whole grift. But I just want to say I think that it is, it is starting to really show some big cracks here, and there is some problems with it. I'm not gonna call O'Shea a scammer. I don't think he's a scammer. I think he's a little bit disingenuous. I'm a fan. I've been following for years, but I think the biggest problem with the whole Pan-African thing, like him, especially himself, especially Umar Johnson, and especially Tariq Nasheed. I don't too much care for him at all. You have to be honest. First off, I disagree with this whole delineation thing. That just doesn't really apply to us, I think, at all. It doesn't make any sense. So that's, first and foremost. But as far as this, Pan-African thing, we have to understand the proper context of, what happened and why certain things are the way they are. So when it comes to the concept of race, right, and the whole thing of Africans not working with him, with O'Shea, or, a lot of the corruption, the biggest issue with the Pan-African thing is that you're talking about, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say revisionist history, but there's a lot of blaming of, past grievances, being stuck in that, and that does nothing for the overall movement or overall black people at all. He may talk about it on his Ken Ganda channel, but he doesn't mention it like he probably should. He'll mention it, in his last live he did mention about the, like I said, I'm Fulani descent. He mentioned about the whole Sahel region. My thing is, with the war out there, with the Islamic terrorist stuff, if you're really a pro-black Pan-African, you would discuss more of those issues. I wouldn't focus on celebrity stuff, especially within my own country that I'm from, and I'm doing that from a whole nother country. It's really not that important. But the fact is, you're supposed to be focusing on, like I said, the Sahel region with the terrorists, and how that whole thing is potentially going to ascend on the entirety of West Africa. These are more important, pressing issues than getting scammed by the lady he was talking about with that organization, as far as for visas and things like that. Not that we blacks aren't important, to them or whatever, but this is a more pressing matter. The terrorism stuff, the corruption. I think he has an axe to grind because, like I said, he's from California. Obviously, the Black Panthers came out of there. So I clearly know that he most likely came from a pro-black Pan-African family, that was really heavy in it. And like I said, he's born in the 80s, and like I said, he mentioned it before. He had talked about those. We used to have those town hall meetings and stuff like that back in the day, and obviously, once he was born in the 80s, he was on that. He was probably that last tail of that. We used to have those town hall meeting things back in the day. So I think he's had an axe to grind based off of the black people in the 90s who left the Pan-African pro-black space in mass in the 1990s. And I think he's been trying to prove by going overseas to Africa, that they were wrong. And I think ultimately that's proven him wrong, but I think there's some truth to it. But at the same time, we have to understand, race is not a skin color. Race, when people like Oshay and all that sort of stuff mention that, the tribalism thing, you're actually spewing the rhetoric, the made-up knowledge that the white man made up about the entirety of the African continent. They actually apply this whole thing of everything is just black, there's no distinction or whatever of cultures and things like that. They put that on Africa before they took us off the continent. You know what I'm saying? The Africans today, they have to understand that applies to them once they step foot off that continent. They are who they are, but they are who their peoples are. Who their peoples is, but they not, they would know, they can attest to this, that wherever they go, they have to put emphasis on that. They have to put more strenuous emphasis on that. But once you step foot off that continent, you're no longer considered or thought of who your peoples are. You're considered a black like the rest of us. And they have to understand that that's not something that the Europeans created for us African Americans. When they came and got us, they applied this originally to the entirety of the continent. And that's what they have to understand, first and foremost, especially with like apartheid and with the xenophobia. Xenophobia down there in South Africa, that right there shows that that's not a thing of self-hate or whatever. That's the race context is in its proper order. Skin color is not a race. You know what I'm saying? It's skin color. Black people, it's other people that, black like us, but they're not black African in origin, like Indians. They're from India. But, race is not a skin color. So, like I always say, you don't have to dig up the ancestors and ask them. You can just simply ask the Africans. And I think a lot of Pan-African pro-blacks are afraid to ask that question because it kind of defeats a little bit of the argument, because it puts things in proper context and put things probably where it should be. You know what I'm saying? And we have to understand history. O'Shea don't understand history because, like I said, Thomas Sowell, he said, I like him, I'm a big fan of him, I don't agree with everything, but like he was saying, with Pan-Africanism was formed out of, or was originated out of Pan-Slavism and Pan-Germanism. And even though O'Shea as well does mention you do need these, reason why those movements don't work is that you need people in proper skill sets, to actually do it. And I don't really see him, I'm not saying he's not doing it, but I don't really see him doing it as well, because he doesn't bring much value as he thinks he does. That's not to be disrespectful, but you have to add value wherever you go. And my thing is, with a lot of these travelers, especially the black ones, especially if you're talking a pro-black pro-black card, like, you have to learn these languages. It doesn't make sense for you to be in Uganda and he could know and not speak the Ugandan language or one of the main languages. And they always go on to one that's kind of favored with English. It doesn't mean make any sense. You know what I'm saying? It's weird, especially you've been there for years. Sure, you learn Polish or try to learn it, but it don't make sense to be in Poland for 5 years or so and not speaking Polish. You'll connect more if you learn these languages. That's the problem with even the passport rules. I'm a passport rule myself, but a lot of these guys don't learn the languages like they should, because they go to places that favor it because there's a lot of tourists that go over there. So, but for me, it's just, it doesn't make sense. Like, you'll get further, hey, wait a minute, this guy, he knows Uganda. He knows the language of Uganda. That right there siphons a little bit of the scammers and people like that. And he's more of a grassroots, but he'll go further if you speak the language. And you speak it fluently and you try to do business with actual legitimate business people in Uganda on the lower level on up. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I speak some language. Like you're living over there. You should learn the language. I mean, for Christ's sake, you're West African descent, like the rest of us, you know, in America. But you're in East Africa. I mean, learn the language. And that's the thing I don't understand about a lot of the Pan-African pro-blacks. It's weird to me. I can't be in some country 5, 7 years. Oh, I love Japan and I love South Korea. Yeah, and you know, I love, you know, the Philippines or Vietnam, and I don't speak the language. I've been there 5+ years, close to 10 years. Like, it doesn't make no sense to not, you know, it's just a weird concept, especially in the context of business. Like, these companies over here in America, you know, if a guy has to go to Vietnam, he has to go there, let's say he has to go there once every 2 years to help with their sister company over there in downtown Vietnam, right? Okay, well, obviously he has to know Vietnamese. He learns Vietnamese, you know, speaks it well, speaks it fluently. He can conduct business over there, and he can help the team over there be successful. And like you said, you got to do that every 2 years for 6 months. Yeah, that's pretty frequent, especially if that's a position that he wants to be in, you know, the money or just to travel. 6 months is, you know, it's a while. Or let's say 6 or 8 months out of a year. Yeah, you definitely have to learn the language. And it's just a weird concept, you know, for us as, you know, especially on this pro-black Pan-African tip, not to really be doing that. Because that's how you go further with people, because it shows like, oh, okay, it shows that you're not really just there for superficial reasons. You do care enough about the people to at least learn the language, and you can connect better, you know, a lot better, and go a lot further. It's just, I never understood that. It's a weird concept to me. I just don't get it. Like me, I learned my tribe. You know, I'm Fulani descent from Nigeria, the Hausa land. I'm definitely trying to learn Fulfulde. I got the papers for Arabic. I stay Muslim. I want to learn Arabic. I learn Fulfulde. I got the paperwork for this. I'm trying to learn that as well. Fulfulde. I want to learn Hausa. You know, that's our cousins, the Hausa people. So I want to learn their language. You know, so I'm trying to learn that too. So it's just you'll go further a long way if you do the work the proper way, the right way. You'll go further. I mean, I shouldn't have to learn the Ugandan language and go over there and, you know, ain't been there 2 minutes and, you know, a whole week, and somehow I can connect better business-wise, all because I know the language. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't make any sense being there that long and not doing it. It's just a weird concept. You'll go further. This person you want to work with, oh, hey, they're from this tribe. You know, put the effort to try to, like, you know, learn the language and get in their circles like a little bit, you know, as far as like, hey, you know, this guy, I like his ideas and stuff. He speaks our language. Yeah, he didn't have to do that. He's been here some years, you know, but he took the time to do that, you know. You know, people notice these things, and that's how I know he's a businessman, but he's not, he runs a business, but he's not a businessman. But he'll know some of these certain things, but he probably won't really apply it. You know, because that's what the shakers and movers and shakers of the world, you know, that's what they respect, you know, and things like that. And Oshay just doesn't really, yeah, he doesn't really, he gets overshined by the idea of us working together just because we look the same. And that's where the biggest flaw is at when it comes to that thinking, because it goes back to the point, skin color is not a race. Why do you think we always said, hey, you know, why do you think they put us on different slave ships not to speak the same language? You know, that's a sign right there. It clearly tells you you're not the same people. That's why you think it's so easy to sell one another. But the thing is with that, it's just a lot of it's just common sense, and it's rather self-explanatory, you know. But yeah, it's just a weird thing. So, but for me, I just think that you have to put in the proper work, and you have to learn to connect with people, you know. But when it comes to what happened with Europe, the proper history is rather simple, you know. They were unified under Christianity. I said this in my last video. They were unified under Christianity. when they happen to find the Americas for themselves. Because, Lee Erickson, he doesn't get the credit enough. A Viking warrior explorer. He actually found America first, just like 500 years before Columbus. But he came in the winter time, so he just saw a sheet of ice and he just thought it was just more ice. But really, he technically discovered America. He was in Newfoundland, or what is now Newfoundland, and Nova Scotia, Canada, technically. But the point is, the point is that, you have to, the European, have to put things in proper context. So Europe was unified under Christianity. When they found the Americas, even though they was, still beefing, they unified in a sense to, take the land and all that sort of stuff. You can see it clearly in his books, they still fighting each other and things like that, but they're still unified in that context. So this whole us versus them thing, us versus them, it comes from, it was created from that, it stemmed from that a little bit. But like I said, they still unified under Christianity, and now they're unified under colonizing different peoples. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to exploitation, we need the slave labor. Native Americans can't do it. We're killing them from our sicknesses, because from our diseases and stuff like that. And our farming techniques ain't the same as ours. But the Africans are similar because we're in closer proximity. You know what I'm saying? And they are better farmers in some ways. So they come and get us. You know what I'm saying? Our immunity works. Is comparable to them due to contact. So they come and get us, and that's where the whole "it looks like us versus them" thing comes in. Well, like it looks that way, but it's legitimized because you have a proper, legitimate reason to do this. They found this new landmass, they took it and exploited it. Then they came and got us because they needed us to further exploit the land and take over, and therefore exploit us. Now you have a legitimate reason to do what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? And now it becomes less about us versus them, but on the surface it looks that way. But you needed the legitimacy to do these different things. Pan-Africanism, despite what happened in the past, when we first got independence, it would have fell apart anyway. You know what I'm saying? You would have had a bunch of Republic of Biafras all over the continent if you had the entire continent of black Africans under Pan-Africanism. Republic of Biafra was southeast Nigeria with the Igbos. You know what I'm saying? That happened under just colonialism as far as being independence. And Pan-Africans, you would have had that all over the continent. And like I said before, you can't call all them people sellouts and Uncle Toms and Coons and all this sort of stuff, because that's half the goddamn population of the continent. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of it's just wishful thinking, but you have to be more practical. I thought about, a business with, shipping across the entire western seaboard of Africa. I know he's mentioned it, but Oshay won't mention that, hey, the coast of West Africa is smooth. That's why it doesn't really have a lot of harbors. It's really smooth, so it's hard to really dock. You know what I'm saying? The way it's set up. That's why maritime, the idea of that was just basically impossible. It was just basically stuck by its geography. But now we can come up with something to figure out a way to make those ports artificial ports, and then conduct business that way. You know what I'm saying? But see, he's not thinking like that. You know what I'm saying? He's not thinking about solutions. He's thinking small. He's thinking small. He's thinking, kind of phobic, like, xenophobic somewhat, like, and it's just, it doesn't benefit everybody or anybody really, but yeah, like I said, I did hear about that $20,000. That's messed up, but that's on him. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how you lose $20,000, possibly a laptop, but hey, it is what it is. But you're starting to see the truth that, hey, skin color is not a race, and this concept, it's just a foreign concept. It doesn't matter what the white people did to them. You're still not one of them. Just like I said, just like he did the video a few months ago about the tricking, about one of the guys, getting in trouble by being with a white girl. Like I said this months ago, like you say that, but hey, them Kenyans, the Ugandans, they can turn on you because you're not one of them. And now you see the situation that happened in Kenya with Jay Rello, and now you feel it. You feel it some type of way because skin color is not a race. It ain't about just because they hear you speak. You're not really one of them. And on top of that, you West African, descent from America. They may even take umbrage with that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a weird concept, and there's a lot of short-sighted thinking with Pan-Africanism and pro-blackness when it comes to O'Shea Duke Jackson, especially him, and especially Tariq Nasheed, and even Umar Johnson. So we as people have to, come together and deal with the proper context context of things, and look at the realistic plans on how we can work together. I'm gonna come up with another video on proper solutions. I'm just getting home from work, so in my next video I'm gonna suggest some suggestions on that, and we'll solutions potentially, and we'll talk about that next time. All right, you guys.